Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 58 of Beyond the Blade here on the Hockey Writers Podcast channel and the Grandstand Sports Network, the best view in sports. I am your co-host, Chad DiDomenicis.
I'm your other co-host, Bill Shockey. And just as we all predicted, huh, Chad?
Yeah, 0-2-1, 12 goals against in the last two games, 4 short-handed goals against. Man, the Sabres are hot. Feeling it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we're going to get into a lot here today. But I think I just want to preface with this. It's been a bad 3 games, so a lot of this is going to sound bad. But at the end, we're going to come full circle and say it has been 3 games. So calm down, everyone relax. We knew this was going to happen. New coach, new system. Half your defense was overhauled. And with Bogo out too, you got another guy in there, Tennyson. Yep. So, I mean, I think it's just how ugly it's been is the concerning thing. But other than that, I mean, we knew we were going to have some struggles here. And it's funny because last week I even said it's probably going to take 20 games to see what these guys really are. Yep. And it might get ugly in the first 20 games because the style they're going to play, if one guy misses or somebody jumps when they shouldn't or you miss a puck, you're going to have odd man rushes the other way. And the first night you really didn't see that, but you definitely saw it the second 2 nights. And it burned them. It burned them quite a few times. And shorthanded has been an issue.
The shorthanded thing it's concerning to me because, I don't know, we didn't really see that last year. But again, it's a new system. It's new defensemen. Like you said, as players getting used to each other. So, we talked about it a few times. You know, we expected – I don't think to this degree 3 games in, but we certainly expected some bumps here on the road, and that's to be expected. Players learning a new system, players learning to play together. That's kind of just the way it goes. But I don't know. Again, we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna talk about a lot here. We even turned the video on. We do some video breakdown, show you some things that we saw, and then I guess at the end here we'll kind of come full circle and just bring everybody together for a team huddle and say, hey. 79 games left here. Let's not jump off the bridge. Let's kind of see how things go here. Just so people know who are watching video right now, if you see me look to my right here a few times or throughout the podcast here, I have a Yankee game on over here. They're winning 3-0 here in the 4th. I'm a huge Yankees fan. So Bill and people who are watching on video, if you see me continuously look to the right, that's what I'm checking on, just so people know there's not some mysterious person over here or some woman dancing for me or anything. Although I wish that'd be the case, but not so much.
And so everyone knows I'm a true hockey fan. If you see me looking up, it's because, well, of course it's Wednesday night rivalry, so it's Penguins Capitals for the 100th time. But that's what I got on.
All right, so let's not waste any time here. Man, where do I guess let's run to the topics we're going to kind of talk about here. The bad start, defense, system, players not in the normal roles. Where have you heard that before? Maybe kind of touching the captaincy at the end. The bottom 6 didn't look pretty, still doesn't look pretty. But the one good shining light that can give you some optimism so far through 3 games is Evander Kane looks really, 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 really good. And maybe that's kind of where we can start, but that's pretty exciting.
I don't know if it is shining optimism, though, because he's got 1 year left. Nobody knows what's kind of going on with him. He could potentially, if he doesn't want to sign, just walk for nothing. But yeah, I mean, the guy's been great, and we've talked about it. At least I feel that at this point, even though it's only been 3 games, I'm ready to do what I can to sign this guy. He's the only guy for the last 3 years that's showed up every single night. He gives you 110%, even when the team's down, 4-1, 5-1. He's working his butt off to get it 5-2. That shorthanded goal was just a workman's goal. The second one. Yeah. He just never gave up on the play. Even the goalie gave up on the play, and he was the one still fighting for the puck and was able to, pick up his own rebound and tap it in back door. So, I mean, he's just been, like you said, he's been the light on this team so far. Night in, night out, he gives you everything, and he's been rewarded. 4 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, which is different because, the Evander Kane we're kind of used to here in Buffalo is getting off to those slow starts. Mm-hmm. And he's off to a red-hot start, which could be bad news for the league because really he doesn't really start picking up until December, January time. And if he's potting goals here in October, November, I mean, he's got a real good chance of hitting that 30 as long as he stays healthy. Knock on wood, because you don't need any more injuries around here. So it's not really jumped on that road. But, Yeah, I'm with you, especially if you're going to lose Sam Reinhart, which we're going to get into Reinhart here in a little bit. But if Reinhart maybe isn't in the future plans, then I don't know. I feel like at that point you kind of can't afford to lose Kane. I mean,
Hmm.
you lose you. Let's say you move Reinhart for I don't know, like a defenseman or something. Who knows? Maybe like another legitimate top defenseman or something, another younger player, whatever. Uh, and then you let Evander Kane walk too. Then I don't know. I mean, O'Reilly and Oposo don't look great, and if you're letting those two players walk, then you could have some big issues on your offense.
Yeah, I mean, you already do. So if you're losing guys on top of it, now you got to fill spots, and you're right back to the scenario of, man, I really hope Middlestad's really good. And I really hope Nylander's really
Right.
good. And can Bailey Baptiste, can one of them step up? Again, you're just making yourself, a lot more question marks. So, I mean, it's really tough. It is, because if you do move on from a guy like Reinhardt, not saying that we know anything at this point, because I don't think it is the case. I think they're
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what's the best scenario for him for this team. Um, and I still think that him being on the third line, he just doesn't have that help that he needs. We talked about, Reinhardt's not Jack Eichel. He's not going to create his own space. He's not going to go end to end and score. He's going to, work the puck in the zone with his teammates, and then he's going to find himself in front alone, finding that soft spot in the defense and bury it. So with that being said, when you have guys on your line like Griffith, or it looks like Gergensons was there for a little while.
Yeah.
It's just those guys aren't going to be able to create the space that Reinhart needs to create. That's why we were really hoping, a guy like Kane, we thought could be really good on that line. It'll be interesting. Larson getting moved up at least. I think he should have been there. I don't know why he was really on the fourth line to begin with. That pass he had from behind the net to Molson was really good.
Oh
Of
yeah.
course, it was to Molson, so we put it right in the goalie's
Right in the
chest.
chest.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think good things can still come. Like you said, 3 games, we still got a lot to see, but not the start you're really looking for out of Reinhart, especially in the center third line experiment.
Right. So I guess for me, one of the main concerning things, now that we kind of covered the good with Kane, I think the rest of us might focus on the bad until the very end here. Uh, One of the things that concerned me the most, and it was more prevalent, although it was in Long Island too, but it was more actually Brooklyn. I keep saying Long Island, it's Brooklyn. It was more prevalent against New Jersey, and that was just a poor, ugly, awful passing. They couldn't make breakout passes.
Yeah.
Everything was in guys' skates. It was hitting them in the chest. It was ahead of them. It was behind them. It was going between their legs. It's just it didn't generate any just another team to generate offense. We didn't that's kind of why we saw the team be so fast on Thursday against Montreal, because those breakouts were clean. They were hitting players in stride. They were moving the puck. They, were going tape to tape with passes. They were just it looked more in a flow and more comfortable, and that increases your team speed. I still remember what a coach always told me is the puck moves faster than any player. If
Mm-hmm.
you can pass crisply, if you can get those breakout passes clean out of your zone and get your offense going the other way, and then that allows your defense to get in the rush and pinch. Not have those defensive blue line turnovers or those neutral zone turnovers that allows the other team to come back at you. It's really it was frustrating, and it kind of reminded me of the Bylsma days. We kind of seen that a lot, and it was just sloppy play. And I don't want to say players aren't giving their full effort. It's just I guess the word is laziness is kind of what it came down to for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other word it comes down to is chemistry. A lot of new guys playing with, a lot of different guys. The defense, a lot of them, but like you said, they haven't been there. So you got to get used to, how fast is Eichel compared to Reinhart, or the guy that you're making that pass up to. And it goes with the system too. If you don't necessarily know where that guy's going to be, we saw it a couple times. The Riley making drop passes to nobody being there. Beaulieu making that pass to Johnny Tavares.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful drop pass.
It was just the wrong team. So I think it's just kind of what it comes down to. Maybe in old systems, for Beaulieu's standpoint at least, you're expecting a guy to be there. In this case, he was on the other side of the ice, and Tavares, I give the guy credit. He's one of the best. Great read. Walked right up the middle and just said thank you, and walked right in and scored. But yeah, I really think it's coming down to getting used to where guys are going to be. I mean, I know you're playing that it was different. Some nights I'd be playing with the best guy on the rink, and you have to get used to his speed compared to somebody else who might be slower and you kind of can keep up with.
Right.
So I think it's kind of what it is. It's getting used to those guys. I know it felt like preseason and camp was long, but it really isn't. I think that it's going to take a little bit of time for these defensemen to get used to their forwards, get used to where they're going to be able to make those crisp breakout passes, because right now it definitely just isn't working.
So let's bring in our first video thing here, because let's show maybe, I guess, through 3 games, this might be one of my favorite plays of the season so far. And that's this Scandella pass here. So if you remember, this is early first period, puck behind the net. This kind of thing, you said before the podcast, this is the kind of play where eventually this defenseman right here, all he's going to do, he's going to shoot this puck up the wall. I mean, he's not going to hit Eichel, who's going to come right here in the middle. So let me kind of play this a little bit here so you can kind of see how this goes. Scandella picks the puck away from Pacioretty. Eichel's right here. Tennyson's down here. Pominville is heading up there for his breakout. I think Evander Kane is over here on the wall up higher. They're going to see there's going to be a Montreal player come down on Scandella, and he's just going to make a quick, smart, right here, pass Eichel, and Eichel's going to be gone. Just beautiful, boom, gone. And then look at from here. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we saw against Montreal we haven't seen in the last 2 games.
Right.
Just then, your offense is gone. Tennyson's in the play. There's no turnover. Pominville's up the ice. Evander Kane feels and he's gone. And, I mean, you're basically on – I mean, there's 1, 2, 3. I mean, you're basically going the other way, 4-on-2. I mean, there they go, 4-on-2 the other way. I guess you could say 4-on-3 because the Montreal guy stays in. But, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that – I mean, it all starts with just a simple play. We're all the way back here in your own end. Just a smart, simple chip right there.
Yeah, if you could stop it right there. Like we were saying, when that guy comes down last year, that he's seeing Kane up the boards and not seeing these 3 guys up front, and that's just off the boards. Probably getting past Kane and the Montreal guy, going to the Montreal defenders, and they're just regrouping and getting ready to come back for another attack.
Yeah, because remember, there's the Montreal right there. This is where the puck is going, where the Montreal guy ran into Evander Kane right there.
Yep, and it's
That's
probably being kept in the zone, or it's still being turned over to the Montreal defenseman. So, like you said, I mean, I remember I was at this game, so I remember texting you right after and just saying, simple little pass that most people, won't see or don't even, recognize as an important play. But the difference, like you said, between breaking out and having a clean breakout and being able to go up the ice with speed and just chipping it out, there it is. It's right there. The simple little pass to Eichel inside the zone allows you to go up the ice with 4 guys instead of battling on the wall and then potentially keeping the puck in the zone.
Yeah, so, I mean, beyond that, I mean, and against Islanders and against the Devils, you really didn't see any of that. You saw a lot of guys that were pinching. You saw a lot of, we're going to show a couple of videos here in a little bit. I think there's a lot of guys who maybe were overthinking, which is, again, it can go back to getting used to a system they're playing the first time. Can get used to playing with players they've never played with before. It's guys that it looks like there's more thinking than reacting. And that's kind of what slows down games too. I mean, this team is not a fast team. I mean, Oposto's not that quick. Neither is O'Reilly. I mean, Eichel's fast, right? And Kane are fast. Your defense is better than they were last year. But beyond that, there's not a lot of speed on this team. So if you're slowing your game down even more by not thinking and not moving your feet, or not reacting, it slows the game down more. It makes it look even more slow and skate in the mud. And, this is something that may linger for a week or two. I hope it's not as bad as it was against Islanders and Devils. But, I mean, like we even said, for the first few games here, it could linger a little bit. But
yeah,
I think once they get used to it, it'll look a lot like we saw against Montreal.
Yeah, and it should. Like I even said coming into the second game, if you saw a lot of what we saw against Montreal, I expected them to win that game. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And it does come into your bottom 6 too. I think this is kind of where you're missing guys like Erod, who got hurt in training camp, and you're missing kind of a Bailey or a Baptiste here because you're playing Molson 2 out of the 3 nights, or you're playing Jordan Nolan, or you have guys down there that aren't going to really hurt anybody. You're basically just hoping they don't get scored on. Like Josephson is another one, another guy that you don't really expect him to do anything, but he's not really going to hurt you. But at the same time, then what are you even really doing if you're just expecting to hope to break even with him on the ice?
Right.
I mean, that Larson, Josephson, Molson line was painful. I kind of felt bad for Larson at the time. He was skating. He was playing hard. He was beating Larson, who I thought was a really good third line center last year until he got hurt. So I was kind of hoping to see him in that same role. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the first 3 games, but it looks like that might be changing up here tomorrow night.
Yeah. So let's kind of go shifts the defense here, because that's maybe I think I said that one area maybe that going into the season kind of gave us the most optimism. But I mean, through the first 3 games, Beaulieu, Ristolainen, Tennyson, Scandella, they've all struggled at times. Bogosian hasn't played a game yet. Housley said today he's going to need at least another week before we even consider seeing him. And Antipin and McCabe I thought have been okay, but looks like Antipin might find himself in the press box tomorrow against the Sharks. We'll kind of get to that in a second here, but I mean, it goes back. I mean, Scandella hasn't played a game in the preseason, so kind of his first kind of run with his teammates. Ristolainen's a little bit concerning to me. I'm going to show a video here that I don't know. I think maybe he's getting a little bit too aggressive at times, and it's getting him caught. And I think he's kind of the same thing where he's doing more thinking than reacting, which I think is slowing his game down. And then Beaulieu, I thought was really good against Montreal, but I mean he's just had some mental lapses in the last 2 games with turnovers. And for the love of God, somebody just show that kid how to play a 2-on-1 because it's pretty brutal how he plays those 2-on-1s. And then Tennyson, he's a guy they didn't even expect to be the NHL anyways. I mean, he's a 7-8 at best, so I don't really expect him there. But in general, those 4 guys have really, I think at times struggled a lot.
Yeah, and just Tennyson, he's been all right, but you can just see the difference between like mental lapses that the NHL guys are having and kind of mental lapses that he's having. I remember, I think it was against Montreal. There's basically 2 plays in a row where they were hemmed in the zone for a long time, and he kind of just totally missed a pass and went all the way down for an icing. And the Sabres won the draw. He got the puck and basically just fired it right down again. It's just like it's an AHL play. You're not looking for the open guy. You're not looking kind of for the breakout. You're panicking, and because now you're tired, you're just trying to flip the puck out to get to the bench, and it's going too far and it's going for an icing.
So let me show the Ristolainen video here I was talking about. Let me share my screen again so everybody can see it in the video thing here. So this video is going to kind of start with the plays already gone. Already started pretty much. But you can see Ristolainen right down here. So let's see if you can see him right there. Down at the bottom of your screen. And what happened, I'll kind of describe the play, is Evander Kane had the puck, brought it behind the net. But he lost the puck as, I guess, Ristolainen started to pinch, but really, Bratt was kind of on him the entire time until the turnover in front of the net. And this is one of those situations where I think again, the score is 5-1 with 1:11 left second period, but it's over aggressive. There's really no chance of you getting the puck. I mean, there was a defenseman right on Kane. Bratt was right on top of you. You covered pretty well. There's no point to pinch down here. What you're going to see happen here is, he falls over Kane, he's caught. And they're off 2-1 the other way. Beaulieu plays this 2-on-1 terribly, and it's in the back of your net, and it's 6-1. But, I mean, it's just, Willis wanted to point out that I don't know. I mean, I get being aggressive, but in this situation, you kind of got to think about it. Maybe this is the thing where he's thinking too much. Where he's thinking it's in my head to get aggressive, jump in the play, and then
I mean, the score doesn't help. I think,
right. Maybe you're taking a chance you normally wouldn't take, but
right. But yeah, I mean, even going back to that 2-on-1, basically just looks like it's a drill. He just kind of bends over, puts his stick down. It's like, all right, make the nice pass over the stick. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it too easy for Brett. He's like, yeah, there you go. I'll just put that right over here, and then I don't know. I mean, he's had a couple brutal 2-on-1s. So someone's got to help that kid out. But yeah, I mean, the defense in general, it's been concerning. And we talked a little bit about Tennyson here. Let me show you a video on Tennyson because this is maybe more humor than anything. Again, it's just maybe a guy maybe playing over his style here. And, I mean, stop it here. This is going to be your goal scorer right here. Gibbons right here. And you're going to kind of see Oposo right up here. Tennyson's right here. You guys covered in front. And just Tennyson just lays down. I mean, Oposo doesn't put a stick on him. Tennyson never touches Gibbons. He never moves either. He's just there. I mean, from the entire time that he shared the puck on the net, Gibbons never moved from his spot.
Yeah, nobody ever touched him. Oposo's looking for Hischier to go up the boards, and it's never happened, so he's too far away from Gibbons. And then, like you said, Tennyson's kind of just in between the two, but he doesn't really decide if he wants.
Tennis, what are you doing? How are you helping me in any way, shape, or form?
He's like blocking Johnson.
Right. You're not doing just this. Get on a guy. Put your
Yeah.
stick on him. Just do.
He needs to make
something.
the decision, to either go after Hischier or tie up the man in front. And he kind of does neither and just lays down. And again, like you said, you're not putting the body there. You're just basically laying the stick on the ice, and it's like a drill. It's too easy for these NHL guys to just make that saucer pass over the stick. And that's kind of what happens here if you play it out.
And the net it goes.
Cool.
So, I mean, that's kind of the things where those are the defensive breakdowns you've been talking about is in that for Tennessee, it's an example of a guy is kind of playing over his head anyways, but I don't know. It's frustrating, to see those kind of things where those are easy mistakes. Those are easy mental lapses that you can just be creative or be avoided by just playing the easy fundamentals of hockey. And
it's funny because
it's tough to see that.
You talked about Ristolainen and aggressiveness on the second video, but it's kind of the opposite, at least in the defensive zone that I saw going from the Montreal game to the Islanders and Devils game, is Ristolainen basically was a beast. He was just throwing people out in front of the net against Montreal. Basically anybody who was trying to get a chance in front, Ristolainen was putting their head on a swivel and trying to knock it off. And then the other two games, you just didn't really see that. No one was really clear in the front of the net. Guys are just standing around. I'm sure you have the other video coming up here. We're going to see two guys literally just standing next to the guy who ends up putting into the net.
Yep.
So it's not, there's no zone coverage. And then that's a nice goal, Ovechkin. So you just, guys just standing around. They're not putting body on body. You're not putting stick on stick. You're just allowing those guys to kind of come to the front of the net, at least in the last two games. The difference just it wasn't there, and it's kind of like you saw with that Tennyson goal. I know we're away from it right now, but you literally in the picture after the guy scores, you have five guys just standing there.
Yep.
And that happened a lot the last 2 years, where you would have somebody score that was wide open in front of the net, but you'd have five guys within like a 10-foot radius. It's just like nobody's covering or putting a body, and they're just watching the puck. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened the last two games, and it's ended up in the back of your net more times than not.
So before we shift off the defense, I want to talk a little bit about Antipin because it looks like he's going to be – I mean, it's not for sure, but the way it looked in practice today, it's going to be a healthy scratch against San Jose on Thursday. I'm curious what you thought. I think he's been all right. I kind of said against New Jersey, I feel like he maybe deserves some more minutes with how poorly the rest of the defense was playing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was an opportunity to move him up and kind of give him some minutes in a game that was out of hand. But – I don't know. I'm going to pull up a video here where I kind of get your take on it, and I'm maybe going to show, maybe what Housley saw exactly. That some things that I've noticed too. Maybe that's why he wants to pull him out a game, get him in the press box, kind of get him a view of the game. Remember, I mean, he's still trying to get used to the North America game. Maybe Housley wants to get Georges in a game. Maybe he takes an opportunity to get, Antipin up top and have him get a high view. And I don't know, usually want your best players to play, but is it the end of the world? Not necessarily. But in general, I think he's played well. I don't know if you feel the same or feel maybe he hasn't played as well.
Yeah, he's been fine. For a defense that's really struggling, I think he would be the one that you would think would be struggling the most, and it really hasn't been the case. So in that case, I don't see really the need to scratch him. I think if a guy's going to get used to the game, it's going to be on the ice playing with more minutes, especially if he's doing well. The one funny thing I did notice about him is if he gets an open chance from the blue line to like the high slot, he's trying to go cheese on every single shot, which is it's probably a bad thing because more times than not, it was missing the net and wrapping around the boards. But I don't know if it was just I more vividly remember the Montreal game, so I don't know if it was just because he was playing against Carey Price or what. But man, that guy was trying to pick corners in every single shot that he had where he was wide open, which I found hilarious. But he looks like a smooth skater. The one thing I would say, he needs to be paired with somebody that's a defensive defenseman, or at least somebody that's bigger enough, like a Bogosian or a Scandella or a Ristolainen, that's going to clear the front, because Antipin is wrapping up. He is not clearing anybody out from the front of the net. He's too small. But he has skill. He has skill. He's got speed. I think he's just got to, like you said, get fully used to this, North American game, used to using his speed and skill in the game. And it'll come. And like you said, I don't necessarily think he's been the focal point of the woes, I guess you could say, for the defense. I think he's played well enough, but I mean, I guess I could understand it if you're going to try and there better be somebody up there with him that entire game showing him.
Right.
If it's just him by himself, I think you're wasting your time. But if it's just to get Jordan's minutes, then why isn't Tennyson pulled? But I mean, we'll see. I wouldn't expect it for multiple games. I'm sure it's just
no.
kind of a one game
If anything, I think it's a one game thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me show.
I think he's been good.
Let me pull the video here that I mentioned here that I wanted to show, and maybe it's a little bit what Housley's seeing here. So watch this play develop here. So Kane's going to take a shot, and it's going to bounce off of Schneider. Now, the Sabres are on the power play here. Let me move a little screen out of the way here. So the shot, and then right here you're going to see Antipin pinch for that loose puck over here. He's going to pop in your screen any second. And there he is right there. And Henrique beats him to the puck. Now, is that a bad pinch? No. Is it a great pinch at the same time? Not really. And, I've kind of seen this a few times out of him where he's, this is going to end up in a goal eventually. Other times it hasn't. There's been some pinches or some times where he has got caught. He maybe, again, kind of like we saw versus Lyman, maybe a little bit over-aggressive here. But needless the kind of things where, as a learning experience, he's going to kind of show that, let that go or, maybe realize the situation you're in. Because this is the Brackle that makes it 3-1 after you made it 2-1. Right, so maybe, maybe you don't got to be over-aggressive right here. Maybe you just kind of back off and live to fight another day. Because right here, you look at it right here, it looks like a 50-50 puck. But I don't know, maybe you got to understand who you're on the ice with kind of thing, you have no support. So if you miss, this guy's gone, and this guy's gone, and the guy over here is gone too. And
yeah, it's just – I think it's just picking your spots. It's just because when you're pinching like that, especially I think the biggest problem is that he was in open ice. So if you don't get a piece of him or the puck, that's what's going to happen. He's going to be gone. It's a lot easier if you're pinching up the boards to kind of get a piece of the guy at least, or to, pin the puck against the boards. When, like you said, a 50-50 puck in the middle of the ice there, one bounce, like you saw, and two guys are gone now instead of one. I couldn't tell. Was that the one where Molson was out there too?
Yes.
Yeah. So I talked about this with you actually yesterday, and that was you also got to know who's on the ice with you. And right. Molson is not running anybody down if you don't, get the puck there. If you miss on that pinch, you better be sure that somebody like Eichler or Kane is the one that's supposed to be covering for you. Because if you know that it's Molson who's supposed to be covering for you and you look up and he's in front of you, nobody's catching anybody. And that's kind of what happened there. I mean, you saw it. The goal ended up, not only was it a 2-on-1 where he was able to get the shot off, he was able to make a move to the backhand and tip it in. So, I mean, you got to make sure, you got to be aware, and that's where that chemistry comes in. You got to know who's on the ice with you, where they are. And, I mean, I don't – the good thing is I haven't really seen them get off of being aggressive when it hasn't been working these last two games, which is good. I was nervous that as soon as it didn't work once or twice or it ended up in the back of your net, that they would just stop doing it.
But I think as the opposites happen, they've gotten more aggressive.
Yeah, and I would agree. But honestly, I would rather them be more aggressive at this point, right. 3 games into the season into a new system, than having them back off like in Bylsma's system last year, where they're at their own blue line as soon as the puck's turned over behind the net. That drove me insane. So I think, like you said, it's kind of just been everything has been going wrong all at once here in these last 2 games. And I think it's going to get worked out, but it's just it's funny because we brought up the poll. We did a poll, and for me it was actually kind of a trick question because I think it's a little bit of all 4 options that I gave. It's them getting used to the system, but it's the defense, not playing as well as they should be, the chemistry, getting used to new players on new lines. It's just everything is kind of coming together at once, and it's making everything look worse than it actually is. I think if they can get back to that, how they played against Montreal, things will get turned around here pretty quickly.
So let's jump to the forwards here because we kind of spent the first half here talking about the defense. So kind of where I want to start here is, maybe unfortunately, we've talked about this a lot the last 2 years, is a player is playing out of roles or playing in improper positions. We got a kind of glimpse of that on Monday with, out of nowhere, Seth Griffith is a top 6 forward all of a sudden. He was playing with O'Reilly and was it Ryan Girgensons. It wasn't Oposo.
No, I think it was Girgensons.
So I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, stuff like that. I kind of written down here the new Derek Grant, but kind of. I think Seth Griffith is a much better player than Derek Grant is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say this about Griffith. To be honest with you, I don't think he's played that bad.
No.
I think he's had some nice plays here and there, but if he's
don't
playing
need
a
him in
third,
my
fourth
top
line,
six. Yeah.
exactly. I don't even playing with O'Reilly. That's my whole thing here. I mean, maybe that's kind of where we start. I mean, Larson wasn't playing in the right role, I don't think, but now he's moved to center.
Yes.
Reinhart wasn't playing the right role potentially on the center. He's been moved to wing now. I'm going to show a Reinhart video here that I put up on Twitter to kind of hammer that home. And then Girgensons kind of couldn't hold the top 6 spot down. And I don't know. I mean, maybe this kind of gets back to the whole thing of, well, this is what happens when Justin Bailey, Nick Baptiste, and Alex Nainer don't make your team out of camp.
Right. Yeah. And even Rodriguez, if you want to throw him in there too.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, all part of the Amerks are 2-0 right now. But I think it's just I think it's what Botterill was, he was saying since he got here is that he wanted to make sure that guys were over ready and that the AHL team was good. And they're pretty good, but I think it's right now that's to the detriment to your NHL team because you're coming in with a new style of play. You need speed and skill, and you're playing guys that can't do it, especially in that bottom 6. So, I mean, as we were talking to play to the roles, I think one more I'd throw in there, and I know he didn't have a lot of preseason play, but he kind of went and got Scandella so he could be Ristolainen's partner.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know what he's doing kind of in the bottom 6 or the bottom pair there. I will say this, he's not fast. If he gets caught, it's going to be an odd man rush the other way because Scandella is also not running anybody down. But with that being said, ideally when he's with Ristolainen, you don't need that because he's going to be the guy that's back when Ristolainen's pinching. He's supposed to have quite a heavy shot. I haven't seen that much yet. So I'm looking forward to, seeing that in the next couple of days. But yeah, I really think that he should be there, kind of the stay-at-home, anchoring the back end with Ristolainen, so Ristolainen can kind of freewheel as he wants. With Beaulieu, I think is kind of where you're getting into trouble with, if Ristolainen's pinching and Beaulieu's on that 2-on-1, you saw it twice at least, where he just couldn't kind of cover. So, and I know this is your point, and you're probably going to get to it, but the whole reason he left Montreal is because he didn't want to be a top pair defenseman, and
right.
He couldn't handle replacing PK Subban. So, giving up a 3rd-round pick, I don't blame him for that. I do that every day, no matter how this turns out. But you got to put him in the right role. You got to put him in the right spot to succeed because it didn't work in Montreal. You're just setting him up for failure here again.
Yeah, I think Bogosian being out maybe is kind of a part of that.
Probably, yeah.
And like you said, Scandella not playing in the preseason maybe is part of that too. Kind of want to work him in slowly. We saw in practice today, Scandella was with Ristolainen.
Right.
So we'll probably get a glimpse of that tomorrow. And Beaulieu was playing with Tennyson, which I don't know about that. And then George's with Antip and Marith McCabe. But, I think when Bogosian comes back, and believe it or not, it's kind of crazy that maybe he solidifies that 6 right there when somebody else gets hurt.
We talked about it. I kind of had high hopes for Bogosian this year. So
yeah, the guy can just please stay healthy, man.
Right.
Stay on the ice,
Yep.
Because every time we do this, he gets hurt, and then he takes like a month to get back to himself. And by the time like the season, we're 30, 40 games of the season, we're like, oh, there's Bogosian, 30, 40 games into the season because he had to get used to it, and he missed 10 games, and like it's frustrating. It's an every year thing, and just I don't know. I mean, obviously he can't really help it. He gets hurt, but it's it's really frustrating. So like you said, I had high hopes of him too in this offense or this system. I think it fits him well. I think he's given a new opportunity to play in a role that he thinks he deserves to play in, and I think he kind of had the opportunity to thrive. Now we'll see how good he comes back from his injury. It's going to be out at least another week, so he's going to miss 2 to 3 more games here. So that's up to 6, 7 games. So but before you know it, man, it could be 10 games he's out, which is irritating, but, it is what it is. So, again, it's kind of crazy to believe, that Bogosian could be the guy who comes and solidifies and calms this defense down. I mean, he's wearing a letter, so I guess you could say he's the defense leader on that team. But
and he should,
and he should be, yeah. But I'm not that I'm not overly concerned about the defense. I will say there's some things that I'm paying attention to now. But like, I need to see a bounce back road trip here from Ristolainen. I need to see Beaulieu stop with the turnovers. I need to see Scandella show me that he can play the top minutes now that he's going to get them. And, McKay's been fine. And, I think Antipin just when he's playing, it seems to keep taking those steps forward to developing because, he's looked all right. And if he can now get comfortable and get used to playing a North American game, I think at the end of the day, again, we keep saying this, is 30, 40 games into the season, this could look like a whole different team than we've even seen here in the first 3 games. And, something I want to keep harping on to people is to not get too upset with just these 3 games here because, again, these first few games might hurt them, make them not be a playoff team this year, but I think they could be a lot of fun to watch the second half.
No, yeah, and I totally agree. I think it's, like you said, it's just you knew these struggles were going to come. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. It's been pretty bad. It's been really bad these first 3 games. And it's going to be probably for a little while. But I think that there's going to be games where it clicks and things are going to go well. But depending on, like you said, how long it takes, you might be out of a spot. But again, it's not even just the D. It's the top guys too.
Yeah, Oposo, O'Reilly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even Eichel to the extent, I need to see his speed. And I think that's the one thing that kind of drove me crazy the first night was you saw McDavid skating 25 miles an hour all the way up, up the wall scoring. And I don't know that I've ever really seen that from, at least definitely not this year, from Eichel, where he just takes it and goes. I feel like he's always kind of waiting for everybody else. He did at one point.
That could be a bad, mix of teammates that can't keep up with him. Maybe that's, the style.
No, yeah, and I agree. And I mean, he tried that, I know, in the Montreal game where he kind of went to go between the legs and make the nice move, but he kind of he played the body like he should have and took him off the puck. But
yep.
I really like to I need to see him just go. But I mean, other than that, I don't want to have this sound like it's an Eichel gripe, but because he's been fine. He's played well. That pass to Pominville was elite.
Yeah.
It was for him to actually even see that, let alone make it. It was pretty incredible. I'm not worried about him at all. But yeah, I mean, like you said, O'Reilly needs to get going. Oposo needs to get going. Reinhart, if he is taking off the power play, I think it's going to be even harder for him to get going. So that one I don't really understand necessarily either. But again, it's been 3 games. Yeah, guys have points in the season where they struggle or they don't do well. Unfortunately, right now it's just kind of 3 or 4 of your top guys are doing it in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, so you mentioned Reinhart there, so let's kind of wrap up our Reinhart discussion before we move on to a topic that I kind of want to talk about for being in the room after Monday's game. So here's a play I kind of put on Twitter. This is against the Islanders. Beaulieu was going to make a pass here across the line. He was going to fumble it. Josh Hostang's going to put some pressure on here, so I'm going to roll it a little bit for you. Come on, there we go. Rolling and stop. Oh, let me go back a little bit. You're going to see Casey Cizikas right here at the top of your screen. Reinhart also at the top of your screen. It's basically going to be a race to the middle. You can already see Johnson's glove right here pointing to Cizikas. Is heading into the middle. He beats Reinhart to the spot. Beaulieu is out to lunch over here. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. And free shot, good save by Johnson. And then the play continues. Let's watch Reinhart here. I mean, really, Cizikas is Reinhart's guy the entire play. So he kind of comes up the wall here, and then eventually gets to the defenseman who puts a shot on net. And then Bolivier right here is going to be standing all alone eventually right over here next to Johnson and kind of a tap in. But Reinhart kind of just, as you kind of watch here, just strolls over here and just, again, the way it looks is kind of thinking more than reacting. He's not really going after anybody. He's telling his wingers on the ice here to cover this guy over here. And it's just, I don't know, just he's not moving his feet. I mean, if you kind of scroll back here and watch, he's chasing Cizikas. Cizikas has the puck. He stops moving his feet. Just stops. Look at that. Not moving any of his feet. And, Reinhart's not a fast guy as it is. So if you're just going to glide, it's going to make him even slower and make him even more out of position. And then, here just –
what happens right here is the guy falls. So I think he was telling him to take Cizikas so they could try and block the shot. But like you said, he's thinking. He's not just reacting and doing it.
Right.
So the shot's getting through anyways. And neither
by the time
thing happened.
by the time he gets out across, he's not in the shooting lane, and the puck's already gone.
Yeah, he's kind of gliding towards Cizikas.
Right.
And then here you go. Just stop it
two
right
Islanders,
here.
not even one. I didn't even see the second guy. There's two Islanders.
Just hanging out behind the defense.
Defense 101. I was a defenseman, when I played hockey a lot. Defenseman 101. Never let the guy behind you always be in front of the guy. Look at that right there. Two of them. They by themselves. Which one wants to score? Blitty is like, yeah, I'll do it this time. Just, again, mental mistakes. It's just Ristolainen and Beaulieu. Just turn your head. Just turn around. Two guys could have tapped that in. I didn't even see Hosang's hand just now, so that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the stuff we've seen in the last two games, and that's the, I guess you could say, the frustrating part of a lot of it is that is an easy cleanup mistake. That's hockey 101 that those guys should know. It's just mental lapses that I guess you shouldn't be seeing in game 2 of the season.
Yeah. Like you said, it's just you can understand the lapses in the pitches or the breakdowns in the offensive zone that turn into odd man rushes the other way, which we've seen quite a lot of. But when the puck's in your zone and it's just being worked around, and you're letting two guys just kind of sit in front of the net all alone without even being touched. They weren't even
really
touched.
That whole play, the Islanders players just skated around. Nobody even touched anybody.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just 5 Sabres stood in the middle of the ice and this left lane's open and didn't touch or do anything to anyone.
Not even to mention that Cizikas, who initially takes the shot, went behind the net, got his own rebound, skated up the wall, and then gave it to the defenseman for another shot. That just can't happen. It's just, like you said, it's a lot of standing around. It's guys not moving their feet. It's not reacting to the play that's happening. It's overthinking of, okay, this guy just fell. I should be kind of, blocking the shot. So instead I'm kind of just going to glide in between the guy I should have and the guy who's taking the shot. Easy lane to the net. And then, I think this is kind of the encompassing the whole thing is that one play that led to a goal. There was like 4 things that went wrong.
Yes. There's like 4 breakdowns on one play.
If you clean up half of them, that goal probably doesn't happen. So I like I said, that's why I kind of, we said we're going to keep reiterating this. It's only been 3 games. They can clean these things up, and maybe that game's only 3-2. But but yeah, there's so many things are going wrong currently that I think once you're starting to clean these things up, not only are you going to get the offense going the other way because the D is reacting better, you're getting the puck up to the guys like the first video of Scandella. But yeah, it's just so many wrong with one play. It's going to be pretty easy. And like you said, it's the D not covering the guys that are literally behind them and then not even getting a body or a stick on them as they just tap into the net. And Johnson's just left on an island. Inexcusable. But again, easy fix. Turn your head.
Yeah, exactly. And, to wrap it up on Reinhart, that's kind of one of the reasons why I was hammering home to just I didn't, and again, I was one of the people who said moving him to center is a good idea. I just throughout the preseason, I saw a lot of that stuff. It looked like he was just thinking more than reacting. And Reinhart's one of those guys, who is supposed to be super hockey IQ, who plays the game well, who thinks the game well, and just playing center. I don't know. He hasn't played that position in 2 years, basically. So maybe you can forget some things. Maybe some tendencies of playing the wing kind of creep back in. You have to remind yourself you're playing center. And it didn't fit. It didn't seem to work. And that's why I thought it was a good idea before the season just to move him back to the wing already and just start fresh there, start the season on the wing. It looks like that's going to happen now. Not with Eichel, unfortunately. He's going to play with Girgensons and Larson, it looks like. I feel like if we're going to move Reinhart to the wing, just put him back with Jack and just do that because we know that works. And then you have 2 players producing instead of Reinhart playing with Larson and Girgensons, who we've talked about before. Those aren't guys who are going to create space for Reinhart and not going to maybe be able to play this creativity.
Isn't it Pouliot and Larson? I thought Girgensons was with Eichel and Pominville.
Oh, you're right. It is Pouliot. It's Pouliot. But even still, the point still stands.
Well, and even more so, it's the same. If you're taking Kane off of Eichel's line, why are you not moving Reinhart up there? You're moving Girgensons, who couldn't hold the top 6 spot to begin with. But I digress. And one more thing to hold to help you with the Reinhart point. For me, I didn't mind trying it, but I understand a new coach trying to put his stamp on a lineup, but don't fix what's broken. Larson was really good as a third-line center. Leave him there. He was fine. Yep. So why are you trying to, move Reinhart to the third-line center, moving Larson to a fourth-line winger? It just, that to me made no sense at all. Moving Larson back up to all right. So you and I talked about this too. We don't agree with all of these new moves, but I think they're steps in the right direction.
I agree with that. It's a baby step towards the right direction of the team.
Right. You're getting Larson off the fourth line into the third line center role where he belongs because he plays well doing it. He gets under the skin. He can make plays. He's good down low. He does all the things you need a third line center to do. Reinhart moving to the wing, another thing. It's fine. It's good. But if you're going to move him to the wing, why move him to that wing? Move him up. Because if he's struggling, what better person to put him with to get him out of that slump than Jack Eichel? Like, he's going to get anybody out of a slump. And I think that's kind of what they're doing with Kane. They're moving Kane up to Oposo O'Reilly because he's going to, put a fire under their ass and get them going. The guy is, he's go. So if O'Reilly and Oposo aren't doing that as well, they're going to look even worse behind a guy who is just working his butt off the whole time. So a lot of things here are to like. I think, like you said, there's steps in the right direction. I think we got to talk about this and remember this too. He's a brand new head coach. He's never been a head coach before.
Yes.
He's learning, how his players play still. He's learning who the best fits are. And I think – so I wouldn't necessarily get too angry about line changes right now. I don't think it's going to be like Bilesmo where it's going to be every week. But I think, like we said, in these first 20 games, you might see a little bit of movement pretty often because he needs to figure out what pairings are the best. And hopefully, though, and this is what we have to look for, once we find what works, it stays. It needs to keep that way. It can't keep moving around because that's what the frustrations were with the last couple of years. So, again, baby steps in the right direction. I think we're heading on the right path. A West Coast trip, it could be a really good thing. It could be a really bad thing.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting next week or so here as we get more down the road here into the Sabre season.
So one area I want to touch on here before we kind of check out here, and that's maybe I kind of expressed to you a little bit, and I've kind of expressed on Twitter, is I guess the vibe I kind of got on Monday being in the room. 6-2 embarrassment at home. You go into the room, we waited outside for a while, probably like 10 minutes or so, if not longer than that. But usually we get down there and go right in. So obviously there was some discussion going on. But we go in the room, and the only people there to answer questions are Chad Johnson, O'Reilly, and Nathan Beaulieu. And I'll give Beaulieu credit for standing there because he had an awful game, 2 games in a row to ask those questions.
Right?
And yeah, but Kane came out later. We had to go get Kane and bring him out.
Okay.
So he wasn't even in there when he came in, but he did come out later.
Okay.
But O'Reilly was there to answer the questions. That's O'Reilly. The thing that, I don't know, I don't want to say bothered me, but maybe raised my eyebrows a little bit is Eichel wasn't out there. And if the guy wants to wear a letter, I think he has to be able to answer those questions. He eventually did come out after being requested for a second time. He was pulled out, and by the time he came out, 3/4 of the media was gone. And only the Buffalo News, 3 people were there for that. Not even like the Sabres were there, because when they sent out their press release thing after, like they even have Eichel's interview on it because they weren't even there. Like the Sabres reporter wasn't even in the room for that. So I don't know. I get the kid's young; he's only 20 years old, but if you want to be a captain, you talked about being a leader just a week ago and stepping up into this role and accepting the leadership and being the voice in the room. You get shellacked 6-2 at home and you have 0 shots in the game. My man, you need to be out there answering questions. You need to stand in the fire. You need to take the bad. You need to be there for the good too and be there for the bad. And I don't know, maybe somebody goes and says that to him, like, hey, man, you got to be out there. Or I don't know, because at this point, I don't know, is Ryan O'Reilly ipso facto captain of this team then? Because he's the one who's always there. He's played terrible the first 3 games. He was there to answer questions. Beaulieu was terrible for 2 straight games. He's still there to answer questions. I feel like it's kind of something we saw last year too, where I just feel like he needs to accept and step up now that he's the highest paid player in this team next year, but he's that guy now. And I need him to, again, it's simple as talking to media, but it's a sign that you're maturing, you're growing, you're accepting the leadership role, and you're there to answer the questions in the good and the bad. So that was, I guess, again, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but it just, to me, it was eyebrow raising to see a guy just a week ago talk about how important it is to him to step up and be a leader this year. And then I feel like in his first opportunity, he kind of failed to answer the bell.
It's a question for you. And this probably goes along lines of maturity and growing. But do you think him not getting the seat to start the season maybe has anything to do with that? I think it could.
I think it could. But again, it's.
I know.
I think you're going to get it. I think you're going to get it eventually.
You still got to go do it. But I just wonder if that's maybe I feel like I should have got it to begin the season. I didn't get it with the contract, so I'm going to mosey my way out here super late after the fact. But I don't know. It's tough. It's always tough when you come off your first game really well. It's still a loss, but you played well. And then you have 2 games in a row that are just beatdowns before going out west. Not giving excuses because you're right. He's got to be out there. He's got to be doing it. And if O'Reilly's going to be the guy who's out there every day, even when he's playing terrible, answering those questions, then maybe rethinking he becomes a C. It's tough. I think for me, the worst part is the vibe of the locker room after Game 3.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like
you're getting the
great. Let me stop then.